another beautiful edition of the Role of Data Analytics in Industry series. And in this fourth edition, we're going to be looking at the role of data analytics and data analysts in the agricultural sector. The agricultural sector is one important sector um, in the economy, and we want to be able to look at the role of data analytics in that sector and the role that analysts can play in helping us to have a more vibrant agricultural sector. And today we have on the program Miss Tonia, Mr. Ibibo, and Miss Peace. These are three brilliant young data analysts that will be sharing deep insights as to the role of data analytics in the agricultural sector. And I'm not going to be wasting your time. I'm going to be starting off with Mr. Ibibio. Mr. Ibibio, please go ahead and talk to us, introduce us to this concept that we want to talk about today.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on wherever you are joining us from. Today, we are definitely going to delve into an important um, industry that is the food basket of the world, because it is quite a very, very important industry that determines the survival of all human species on this planet Earth. So basically, when people hear about data analytics, they tend to they usually limit it to specific set of people, those persons in the what I call, I made mention of Silicon Valley, these large tech startups. They see it as some set of people sitting in a dark room, just looking at um, charts. But basically, data analytics is quite a revolutionary concept when it comes to its application in the agricultural industry. The truth about farming is that it has always been a data-driven business, but for generations, the way and manner for which data has been recorded has been more of a manual process, which implies that they do keep records, but they do it in a manual way. And as such, as time goes on, the necessity of big and huge data and the rate at which data is being accumulated in the industry has made it really, really cumbersome for this data to be processed or collected in a manual form or manner. So that is where, or that's the point actually where data meets agriculture. So without wasting much of our time, we'll tend to look and understand what data analytics is all about. If you look at the slides, you'll see that it talks about it being a process of examining raw data to draw what patterns, trends, and conclusions that support business decision. One important thing that stands out from this definition, you observe very well, is patterns. The sole purpose of a data analyst is not about looking at data. If you look at data and you're not able to draw out patterns, to uncover patterns that is unseen by the ordinary eyes, then the data in itself is useless. Why a data analyst is actually brought into any organization is because of the fact that they are specialists in the identification of these patterns. And it is the patterns that determine the nature of decision making that will be made at the end of the day. So, specifically in the field of data analytics, we are looking at four areas or four types of analysis. We are talking about the descriptive, we are talking about the diagnostic, the prescriptive, and the predictive analysis. So What basically the descriptive analysis is talking about is the definition of a problem. For instance, let's use the assumption of you having food scarcity or shortage of food in the world. That is a problem. And descriptive analysis is what actually defines this problem. Once this problem has been defined, it moves to the next stage, which is diagnosis. Now, in the form of diagnosis, in the stage of diagnosis, you're asking questions of why is there food shortage? The why is the most important thing in the diagnostic because it helps you to uncover the possible factors or variables that may be responsible for the shortage of food in the world. It may be as a result of a low yield in the farms. It may be as a result of the farmers not being given the necessary incentives to go into their production. It may be as a result of high cost of farm implements and inputs. It may also be as a result of, in the peculiar situation of Nigeria, insecurity also can be factored in as one of the causes of those food shortage. And this can only be identified when the necessary data has been gathered using diagnostic analysis. Once this has been done, it moves to the next, which is the predictive analysis. The predictive analysis, basically now is talking about you looking into the future. If the descriptive analysis has identified the problem, if this problem has been diagnosed, the predictive analysis is saying that all things being equal, if nothing is being done, this is the likely consequence of the results that we've uncovered from data. That is the predictive analysis. Now, this moves us to the tell that or recommendations that are being put forward based on the these are the likely solution. It can be in form of subsidization or the farm input, be in the form of improvement in security. It can be in the form of mass production of fertilizer in order for we to have lower cost. So all these are parts of the data analytics process that every data analysis goes through in order to find solution to a problem. So this takes us to the next, which is about the agriculture industry. As I said earlier, the agriculture industry is one important industry that has been in existence for from thousands of years, and it is an industry that actually influences every aspect of our lives. Why? Because whether you're happy, you need to eat. Whether you're sad, you need to eat. Whether you're, regardless of the nature or you find yourself, food will always be an important part of your life. So the agriculture field is really, really important for our survival and existence and as humans. So basically, agriculture, it has to do with the practice of cultivating crops, raising livestock, and managing land and water resources to produce food and raw materials. And it remains one of the oldest, as I said earlier, and largest in the world. And also, the agriculture industry, aside it being an employment generation industry, it also contributes to a large extent in the GDP of many countries of the world. Now, before now, the agricultural value chain has been more of a manual industry where things were being done manually in terms of recording, um, preparation of the land for planting, irrigation, and the likes of it. All these have been done using a manual process, and it is really, really, really cumbersome. Now, this is where data analytics actually comes in to solve problem, because The farm is something that if we decide to leave it the way it is today, it will definitely going to affect human existence. Looking at available data as a result of what high cost of production, expansion in the world population, it actually gives us an insight into what needs to be done as to automating the process to ensure that the agricultural processes are seamless and it's able to meet up to the demands and the yearnings of the world. Because, as we said earlier, it's still the backbone of all economy. Aside it being a food production base, it also serves as a raw material base for other industries. So it is really essential that we start looking at the agriculture sector not just from a manual perspective, but from a data driven perspective where things are being done from an automated standpoint to improve the productive capacity of um, our farms and to ensure that we safeguard our future by safeguarding the lands using data analytics. So this moves us also to an important aspect of the agricultural value chain, which is data and the types of data that are being collected from the industry. Basically, when you're talking about data, data is everywhere in the agricultural field. It is everywhere, but the major difference with the agriculture and other industries is that the data that are being seen in the agricultural industry is actually unstructured, dirty, hidden in the mold, and as a result of that, it's quite tasking to uncover this data without relying on modern means and ways of data collection. So it has to do with the collection, the records of the past, which is more of the historical data. It has to do with the present records, and also it has to do with possible records that we're going to have in the future through predictive analysis. So, specifically, the kind of data that you're looking at to collect from our fields, it has to do with the soil and crop health. As we all know, in agriculture, the soil is one important aspect of the agricultural process. It's not enough for you to take a crop and start planting and expecting perfect yields. The soil must be in its rightful state. The quality of the soil also must be put into consideration. And also, the kind of crop that you plant in a specific field will be highly influenced by the kind of soil that is found in that field. And not the kind alone is not even enough. You need to also understand the quality of the soil in question. So next, you're talking about weather. Weather is one important aspect of agriculture because number one, agriculture is being done in the open. It's not something that is being, will I say, in a secretive place that is hidden from the weather. The weather influences up to 90% or 95% of agricultural process and procedures because you need the sunlight, you need rainfall, depending on the nature of crop that you want to go into. There are some crops that are good in the dry season, some that are good during the rainy season. So these are data that record that needs to be gathered in order for you to know and understand the kind of crops that you need to plant at every specific point in time. So another form of data that needs to be collected, it has to do with the machine and operational instruments. You know, due to the advancement of technology, so many of these farm tools and implements and machineries, they actually make use of important tools that helps record the activities of the tractors and other equipment that are being utilized. So over time, these machines can be able to give us information as to the activities that has been done within the
All
farm.
right, sir. Mr. Bigo, thank you. I would like to. I want you to take a pause from there, so we
Okay.
can come back. But I would like to progress to Miss Toner now. Miss Toner, if you would, ma'am, maybe talk to us a little bit as to the role now of data analytics in the agricultural sector, because he's been able to point out to us that we have a whole lot of stuff going on, and we can now for sure be able to say, hey, we understand the agricultural sector, we understand the type of data we're collecting there, we understand what data is, we understand what data analytics is. But now, what is really the role of data analytics in the agricultural sector? Miss Tony, over to you, ma'am.
All right. Thank you, sir, for this opportunity tonight. I really appreciate important when it comes to agric. And number one here is precision resource management. Precision resource management. One of the biggest problems farmers face is waste. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. You're loud and clear. Go ahead.
Okay. So one of the biggest problem they experience with it's when they do not collect and analyze to know if they are to if they are to fertilizer, they are to bring irrigation system into the farm. Like for example, we have some technologies like sensors right now that are installed in farms. I don't know. The noise is much. I don't know if it's on my end.
No, just continue, continue, Tony. Just continue. We can hear you loud and clear. Just continue.
Okay. So as I was saying, so in this time there are technologies like sensors that are installed in farms that can be used to check soil moisture, the air temperature, the humidity, and the rest of it. So I'm going to give an illustration, an example. So let's say that you had a land that you are supposed to plant, and it's on different areas. And for this land, this particular land doesn't need much fertilizer. There's more nutrients in this particular land than the other, but because you did not check out to know if this particular land is fertile already, then you go and get fertilizer that you now put into the land. So imagine you already checked out this data to find out the quantity of fertilizer that you can use for that particular land. It will save you money, because the quantity of fertilizer you might be applying on this particular one might not be the same quantity you apply on the other one. So but when people work based on intuition, based on assumption, they can now do things because they feel like, okay, let's just pour the fertilizer around the land. But then if you know how to put it in the same way, irrigation, we do not know. We Okay, you have let's use the land moisture on the in the soil. So in this case, if we have equipment, we have agri-tech tools that can be used to check these things at the right time, we have the data and know what we should get for the land at a particular time. So this is where the precision resource management comes in to avoid waste. Then the second one is risk mitigation. So in this point, under risk mitigation, there are most things that happen in the land that, how do I say it now? There are most things that happen in the land. Like when we talk about risks sometimes it means that something is bad that could happen. And then mitigation simply means where you now try to solve the problem that might likely happen in the farm. Now, where you now come in is where you can now control these risks that might likely happen. For example, let me use the climate change that just happened, the flooding that happened in Ghana recently. So during this time, we saw that there was that there was flood. So imagine farmers who did not check their weather forecast, who did not know that there would be flooding. Definitely they are going to lose a lot on their own side. They're going to lose a lot. And why are they going to lose a lot? That's because they did not carry out this data. They did not check the weather forecast that okay, or they did not check the climate data to see that okay, things are going to change. Now if they checked all this stuff, I think at that particular time, they will know, okay, I'm not supposed to pour fertilizer on my land right now, because if this flood comes, it's going to wash away the nutrients on the land. And then talking about the supply chain efficiency. So it's another thing to plant, and after you're done planting, it's another thing to deliver these products to the market. So let's say we have tomato, and then you have harvested this tomato and you're trying to take it to a particular location. And then let's say, because tomato is very perishable, right? So imagine there is sun that is hammering this tomato, and then the tomato on its own begins to spoil even before it gets to its destination. You have tools that you can use to know, okay, this is not the right track to go through, let me follow another, so that tomato can reach my customers without without spoiling. Or maybe they are drafting out measures that we can use to store this tomato so that they don't spoil before they get to the consumers. Another thing is pest and disease. So when we talk about pest and disease detection, it is very important for you to always monitor the crops in the farm, because when you monitor the crops in the farm, you know when pests come into the farm. There are tools like the drones that can be used to and capture when the pest has invaded into the farm. So when you have this data, you now know how to come in immediately before the pests begin to destroy your crops.
Can we take us through what you feel are the challenges that we're going to face when it comes to collecting data, and cleaning data in the agricultural sector? Because of course, if we're going to be analyzing data, we have to talk about collecting it, and there are a couple of challenges there, and even cleaning the data. So walk us through that, man.
Am I the one you asked, sir? Me? Mr. Stewart, does the question go to me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So the first one here is limited infrastructure like electricity, internet connections, mobile data, even the roads. So imagine that there are tools that are actually farm or you to carry out the data in the farm, but then the internet connection is now the problem. Just for example, the GPS installation. So if you're trying to carry out data and then the internet becomes an issue, especially in rural areas, because mostly these farming activities are always carried out in rural areas. So internet can be an issue as well. Even the electricity, even the roads, because the road on its own, imagine a farm in a remote village. The farm has in a remote village, the what they call it, the road is not accessible. It's now an issue too when collecting data. So that is where drones comes in. But at the same time, there are some agri-tech tools that actually need internet for you to carry out this data. So this can actually be an issue. So another one is high cost of technology. High cost of technology. They are expensive. So it's not everybody that would be able to get this. As we all know, it's even most of our fathers that are into this farming system. Poor people mostly sef are actually in this farming system, and they might not have the money to get this agri-tech that will help them this data, get this data. Another one is inconsistent or missing records. Very Why collecting data, especially if the data are collected, it becomes an issue because there might be missing numbers at some point. Maybe in a point where it's supposed to be 16, it's 15, and all that. But if there are technological um, systems that are put in place to get this that do this results uh, errors. Drone environment you
All right. I think Miss Tony is having a whole lot of network um, issues there because her line is kind of breaking and we can hear her clearly. Um, Ibibo, can you hear me, please?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please, if you can take over from where she stopped, she's talking about the challenges of collecting data. So if you can take over from where she stopped.
Okay. Okay. Basically,
Okay, sorry. Network was
Okay,
disrupted. Sorry.
all right, go ahead, man. I think we can hear you now, but I'll be glad if you can go back um, to the last concept we were talking about because we weren't hearing you at all. You were breaking so badly, man.
Okay. So I was talking about the weather and terrain interference. So I was saying that the case and because we are not in rain, it's nature, so it can come at any time. So imagine you are flying a drone and then you have an interruption by the rain and the rest of it. So it can actually be a challenge. Another one is terrain interference. So in an environment where you are having storms and you're trying to count the number of plants and the rest, it becomes an issue as well. And then where you can even install the sensors in farms where there are storms or the environment it's not good enough to install the sensors, it becomes an issue too. So another one here is farmer distrust and low digital literacy. So this farmer distrust is when these farmers they get data, when these farmers get their data now, to give it out to the data analyst can actually be an issue for them. Some of them will be feeling like, okay, you are going to buy their idea. By the time you've seen their data and you're seeing how they are doing well in their farm, you might actually decide that, okay, you want to start competing with them and open your own farm, and it now becomes they're just scared of, okay, of the unknown, if this person will now buy their idea, so they don't want to share their data with someone else. So this is like the farmer distrust. And then for low digital illiteracy, it's another thing to have these agri-tech tools. It's another thing to have these agri-tech tools, but it's another thing to use it. And we know very well that the young ones in this 21st century, they don't really pay attention to this farming of a thing. When they even hear that people of their age mates are studying agriculture in school, they're like, you are studying agric, you're studying ag. They see it as, what are you doing there? So it is mostly the older ones who are actually in this farming system. And the problem is most of them, they do not know how to operate these tools that would make collecting data easier for them. And this is where the agricultural extension officers can come in to educate them on how to make use of these tools as well. So these are basically the challenges there. Now, challenges of data cleaning. Should I continue, sir? Hello,
You have
sir.
the stage. Go ahead, go ahead. You have the stage. Go ahead.
Okay. So challenges of data cleaning. We have the data noise here. We have the data noise. So when using these sensors, it doesn't mean that these sensors are 100% accurate, because there might be things that will affect the results that it's going to give. It might be environmental interference, right? So while they're trying to keep track on, okay, if there is enough moisture in the soil, and then they're giving you wrong information. They're giving you wrong information, but because you've trusted the tool, you now go ahead to take down that data. So this is why you must, okay, this is one of the reason why this is one of the challenges that we can face in data collection. Now for the data cleaning, so you need to ensure you need to ensure that the readings are correct, so that you know how you can clean the data and clean it well. Because the truth is, if it's another person that collected this data, you as the data analyst, trying to clean, you might not actually know what exactly the person collected, or if it is right, where you need to also ask your questions. So now the other one is duplicate and inconsistent formats. Those can record the as do now the in format. You have to ensure that consistent can through the if this
Sorry, Mr. Tonya, if you can hear me. Mr. Tonya, if you can hear me, your network is breaking badly again. I think we can come back. We can come back to talk about that. I don't know if it's possible. Can you hear me now?
I'm hearing you.
Okay, so proceed now. Your network was breaking at the point so badly, but go ahead now. Let's
Where where did you stop hearing me, sir?
just go back like the last 1 minute and then just continue.
So did you get the part of the data noise?
Yes, just go ahead.
Okay. So I was explaining that collecting data from with a sensor, maybe for the soil moisture, and you are getting normal records 25%, 26%, 24%, and all of a sudden you are now seeing 150% there, and now you should know that there's actually an issue. And the truth is that these sensors, most times they are affected by the environmental, like they are affected by the environment. They might now begin to give you inaccurate readings. So this can actually be a challenge when it comes to data cleaning. You're seeing 25, 26, 27, and you're seeing it in accordance, and all of a sudden you're seeing 150% there, and then you should know that there's an error has occurred. So this can be a challenge in data cleaning. So another one is the duplicate and inconsistent format. So maybe different people collected this data, and this person collected in words, this one collected in a numerical order, and the other person collected in figures, and so, and it's now in different formats. So you, as a data analyst trying to clean this data, you might not actually know what suits it better, right? So yeah, this is where the duplicate and inconsistent format comes in. So the same field might be recorded differently across the systems. So another thing here I mentioned is the data log. So imagine three people describing the same farm. One is describing it with notebook, one is describing it with a drone, one is describing it with a satellite image. So at this point, and probably this one now might be accurate and the other one is not accurate. So this can be a challenge also, and it's going to definitely affect the data cleaning. So these are challenges that you could face after this data has been collected and it's time to clean it up.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much for that in-depth explanation. But before I move on to peace, I'd like you to quickly, maybe in 5 minutes, run us through. Now we know the role of data analytics. We understand the challenges, of course, when it comes to collecting and cleaning data. But can you run us quickly as to the role of a data analyst now in the agricultural sector?
Okay. So the role of a data analyst in the agricultural sector. So it's another thing to collect data, and it's another thing to analyze this data for you to give the best decision. So for someone who has collected this data, there should be an analytics. So number one here, data collection and management, gathering data from the sensors. The role of a data analyst is to gather this data from the sensors, from the satellites, from the farm records, and third-party sources, if there is any, and organize it into usable formats. So if you're seeing an inconsistent format, you need to organize it in a usable format. If you're seeing that, okay, there is probably a mistake here, this is where you reach out to people that collected the data to also ensure that they are on the right track, because any little mistake that is made is going to affect the decision. So number two, cleaning and preparation. So when this data analyst collects the data, he or she should find out the missing values that are there, the errors that are there, the standardizing formats that are there. These are things that need to be put in place in order to analyze and get the correct, maybe probably dashboard analytics that can give the decision. Now, another thing here is the investigator. The investigator. So this investigator, your first job is tracking them, is your first job is tracking down the data blocks, is tracking down the data blocks, combining different flights together. You're trying to combine it together. You're trying to make your research. You're trying to investigate, okay, is this data appropriate? Are there errors here? Where can we fix this? Where can we fix that? And that is where there are questions as a data analyst that you should ask, that you should ask the owner of the brand, or you should ask the people who collected the data, so that you can, this is where the investigation comes in. So the next one is the pattern finder. You dig into historical farm logs and current seasonal metrics using everyday tools like the Excel, using the SQL, using the Pythons to map out the exact performing and low performing zones of a field. So when you have gotten this data, after it's now time for you to make use of the tools to analyze it. You make your findings. Even you can even actually go as far as researching, because every data analyst is also a researcher, so that you can know the way these patterns has been before now, so that you can know, okay, probably there could be mistake in this particular area, and then you can also reach out to them. So we make use of tools like the Excel, the SQL, the Python, the Pandas library to map out the exact high performing and low performing zones. Then the another one here is the fortune teller. Every data analyst tells a story, because after you've collected the data, imagine you collected data from someone who doesn't really understand what data is about. The person is just seeing the figure, but the person cannot explain. This is where you, as a data analyst, after you are done analyzing this data, you can now explain to him or to her that, okay, this is where your mistake
All right, sorry, Miss Tonya.
began, from the point where you did not check.
We're losing you again, so you might have to go back to like the last 45 seconds. We lost you when hear you.
Can you still hear me, sir?
We can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. So I said every data analyst is a fortune teller. So, not, as I was saying, not everybody would understand the data that has been written. So it is your duty for you to explain it as a data analyst, for them to understand that, okay, these are the patterns, these are the trends, this is where the fault began. The data that was collected at this point, or you did not check for the data for this one, the soil moisture, you did not check if there was enough water in the soil, or you did not check that the water was excess, so this particular area was waterlogged, that killed the seeds. So all these things, when you've collected data, you can be able to explain to the to the farmer well, for him to understand where his mistake has been and where to correct it and make the right decision. Then another thing here is the storyteller. That is actually the same thing I mentioned here. This is where the magic comes together. You take complex statistical findings and build them clean. It can actually be in a dashboard. It can actually be in a dashboard where it is well explained. Like a layman can look at the dashboard and understand clearly where he or she has made a mistake, or where he or she needs to come in and take the correction and make the right decision for his or her farm. So as I said earlier, you must be a storyteller. Explain to them in details. If it's the seed that was not viable enough, you make mention to them. Was it the soil? Was it the irrigation system? Was it you depending on the rain alone, and that was why your plants did not grow? Or was it the fertilization process? All of that should be put in place. Or was it the temperature in the poultry farm? Or just things like that can be put in place. And then a data analyst can also bring in recommendations as well. Let's say, for example, you are into the livestock farming, and then after you're done analyzing it, the data of the person, the livestock farm, and then you now find out that this person has lost over 100 animals. And why? Because he was not able to put in systems that could track his animals whenever they leave the farm. So this is where you can even bring in things like GPS collar that can be hung on the neck of these animals, so that wherever they go, this GPS can actually notify the farmer that, okay, this is the location where the animal is. So all these things, when you put in the data, you can actually know where the loopholes are and analyze it, and then for the farmer to make.
All right. Thank you, Miss Tonia. Let's hold it right there. I want to have. Let me bring in Miss Peace now to walk us through what she feels is the future of data analytics in the agricultural sector. What do you think is the future of data analytics in the agricultural sector? Yeah, Miss Peace, over to you.
All right. Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone. I'll be talking about the future of data analytics in agriculture. In the near future, agriculture is going to move from what the farmer feels like, from his emotions, from his intuitions, to automation. That means agriculture is going to move from my fathers, they used to plant during January, and therefore I should plant in January, or because rain has just dropped, let me plant, to rain will fall, so let me plant. They will know what they want to do. That is automation, using smart sensors that can detect the soil moisture level, the nutrients, the pest infestation, and crop diseases. The farmer will know. So agriculture is moving towards a period where the farmer will not need to walk into his farm to know that a certain kind of pest is about to invade or attack the farm, or a portion of the land lacks enough water or lacks enough nutrients to yield results, to yield bountiful harvest, the farmer will not need to walk into the farm to know that a particular part of the farm lacks nutrients anymore. He will stay at home with the devices, with AI and some machineries like the smart sensor, the drones and the satellite. The farmer can actually tell even before the bug is able to attack the farm, because the sensor would send signal, okay, given this level of weather, given this weather temperature, this bug that has entered this farm can spread anytime. Therefore, this level of this quantity of insecticide is needed to get rid of it now that it's still early, now that you now that it has not spread, the eggs have not yet hatched. So the farmer will not need to walk into the farm going to check what is happening at the farm. He will now be walking into the farm knowing what he's going there to do, that he's going there to spray insecticide in order to prevent this pest from attacking his crops, or he's going there to supply this quantity of water to the farm. There will be no much waste as before. You would know that he's walking into the farm, going to supply this quantity of fertilizer to this portion of the land instead of spreading it everywhere in case everything. But he would just know that this portion of the farm is the one needing this level of nutrients and this kind of nutrient to be able to increase yield. That's all. Then in conclusion,
All right, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
In conclusion, data is becoming a most valuable resources to the farmer, and a data analyst is needed to bridge the gap between the data and the farmer. If you give a farmer just the data, he won't be able to read the meaning. He won't be able to know. He can't see through the data. But a data analyst in the picture can collect this data from the farmer, clean it using the tools like the Excel, the Power BI, and SQL and other tools to clean it and then visualize it, look at the insights and be able to communicate these insights to the farmer to help the farmer make informed decision. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I think let me see. We're supposed to have Mr. People still on the call. Okay. All right. So before we go, Mr. Bibo, please, in 1 minute, what do you have to say in your concluding remarks? Just in 1 minute. We've heard a whole lot about data analytics, the agricultural sector, the role of data, and all of that. I mean, what would be your final words to our viewers tonight?
Okay. In rounding up, I want to use the report from the Food and Agriculture Association of the United Nations. They actually projected that by the year 2050, that the world population would almost exceed about 10 billion. This is really a huge take. And it is really a clarion call for all stakeholders in the agriculture industry and value chain to understand that if we continue to do things the way it has been done in the past, which is being effective in the agricultural processes, it will not take us to that, or it won't give us the desired result. If something is not done from this report that has been given, then it means that there will be an emergency in the agriculture and the food production of the world. So, and as such, it is a clear call for we to start moving from just being effective to being efficient. Effective is all about we doing things to achieve a specific result. But being efficient at this point is to streamline production processes in order for we to, number one, achieve maximum output with minimum resources, and also automate production processes so as to boost the productive capability of our farms in order to cater for the present and the future needs of the world at large. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Yeah, Miss Tony, over to you. Your final words.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, go ahead. Your
Can you
final
hear
words.
me? Okay. So, as we all know, I usually say, um, the life we are living today, like the foundation is this agriculture. From the food we eat, to the clothes we wear, to the purposes, even the houses we live in, we get works from all the rest of it. And there's this saying that when the last plant dies, that um, people will no longer have the ability to live. But why I actually accept that to some extent is that without the plant in that well, yes. So if we do not bring in these measures, these agri-tech tools, and all that has been explained to keep track on our data and know and get to understand where and where to make best decisions so that the agri sector will keep moving forward, then there will be a problem because everything about life still lies in agriculture. So if we don't have all this data put in place, the right decisions will not be put in place that will help us live a better life. So my advice here is that everything that has been stated here tonight, that we try as much as possible to put them into practice, especially for the fact of collecting the data. So we should not just putting it in practice because some of us are not into the agricultural sector, but for people that they spread the news, tell them the possible things that they could do, just as we've heard tonight. People that are already into the system, tell them possible things that you've learned today that can help them become better in their farming.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. Let's go over to Miss Peace now. Miss Peace, your concluding words. Hello, Peace, can you hear me?
That they have to adapt to the the advice that the better, because there are some I can hear you.
Yeah, continue, continue.
Sir, can you hear me?
Go ahead, we can hear you loud and clear.
Sir?
Please go ahead, we can hear you. Go ahead, we can hear you.
Yeah. The earlier the better. The earlier farmers embrace data analytics in agriculture, the better for everyone. The better we cut waste and cost, because it's in a country where they have abundance of things that are needed in other region of that same country, but because there is no information, nobody to give them, or they are not embracing this data, they, they don't know about the, the shortage, so that supply to them. So if they embrace data analytics and stop working based on their intuition, or will thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. I want to especially thank you, Mr. Bibo. Thank you, Miss Tonia. Miss Tonia is an agricultural data analyst. Amazing stuff that she's doing in that space. Mr. Bibo is doing amazing as well. And please, thank you so much for especially those concluding insights you gave are very, very remarkable. So I want to thank every one of you for joining us today in our series. You're going to be seeing these faces over and over again, where they will come up again for some other topics. But today, you had the privilege about the role of data analytics in the agricultural sector. And I believe that we've learned a thing or two. You can always come back to watch these videos. And we are also live on YouTube, so you can go over to have a Tech Up channel, YouTube channel, and also watch it at any point in time. But until I see you again on Tuesday for another of our for episode 5, and that's going to be another interesting episode. Thank you so much, people. Thank you, Miss Tonia, and thank you, Miss Peace. To have a wonderful evening.
Thank